Hello and welcome to the Warhammer 40k Book Club. This is episode number 18, in which we're discussing The Carrion Throne by Chris Wraight. I'm Jen Bozier.
And I'm Carrie Honey.
And this is Warhammer 40k Book Club, where we read from a crag. Every episode, we discuss a book we've selected from the Black Library's Warhammer 40,000 catalog. We post the book along with questions on our website, WH40kbookclub.com. Listeners are able to read the book and then tune in and hear our discussion. We encourage participation through Twitter, the site, or Encrypted Box channel. Spoiler warning, if you haven't yet read the book, go ahead, visit the site, check out the book, and then come back to this post as we'll be discussing the book from start to finish in great detail. As mentioned, this episode we're discussing The Carrion Throne by Chris Wraight. It's about a veteran inquisitor and his new interrogator as they navigate the difficult streets of Terra. First off, did you like this book?
I don't know.
Oh, I really liked it.
Oh, see, I guessed the ending. So...
You guessed it was a Dark Eldar?
No. I guessed that her confidant was...
Oh, yes, I did as well.
So
that part I was like, oh, she clearly has some part in this. And I don't know if we were supposed to.
Well, I blame it on my husband watching NCIS reruns, because I have learned watching that show that when anyone seems overly helpful, they're usually the killer, or they know who the killer is.
She was just a little too the whole part where she's like, we want you to watch Erasmus Crowell. She was just a little too into it. I think there was something about her, but again, I also get the impression that she's like the bottom rung in a much larger conspiracy. I actually got to the end of the book and I was like, oh, damn it, we have to read the next book now. Like now, because I want to know who she was working with.
Besides certain high lords of Terra.
But which ones? Because we've read Watchers of the Throne, and I'm hoping to God some of them are those assholes, and we could be like, that's right, motherfuckers.
I'm really curious if it's, one of the one that went up to our fat friend who was just like, we got to get rid of Reboot. And he's like, excuse me?
Like, oh, yeah. It could be. Although, yeah, so...
Because this, to me, this clearly takes place before Reboot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe so. Let me double check the published date.
Because I would think that they would have mentioned something.
It was published in 2017, but they don't talk about it at all. I know that the sequel takes place afterward because my husband's already read it, and he said that it definitely takes place post that. So I don't know if this is just a matter of Reboot wasn't important to the story, which, to be fair, he's not really, or if it takes place before he wakes up.
Well, the reason
could go either way.
The reason why I think it takes place before the rift, before all that. Well, one, because there's no demons running up and down the street. So, and two, I would think that they may not be as concerned about trying to repair the throne if Reboot is back and kind of taking over all that stuff.
I don't know if they still are or not. I would think that they probably still are, but I would imagine that once Reboot wakes up, more of this Eldar shit. Like, right. I got a BFF who's an Eldar, my big titty Eldar girlfriend.
Right, but he's not going to be cool with Dark Eldar.
No, nor should anyone. But we'll talk a lot more about that later. So what parts stood out to you?
A few things.
I have like several dog ears.
Well, so mine are just kind of like some some things about Terra itself. Like, I've read some of the Horus Heresy that take place on Terra, but that's a completely different time. And the only other book that we've read on Terra was Chris Wraight's other book. What was it called?
Watchers of the Throne?
Thank you. Watchers of the Throne. It's like, has anything to do with the throne? Like, but this one's also a throne. And anyway. So this was just a very interesting, because like, when we saw Terra then, we didn't really get to see very much of it, because we only saw the High Lords and then the demons came. And so this is why I'm saying this is obviously before all that. Because I don't think that they would have all these pilgrims coming in Sanguinala. I don't think they could have made the trip if this was.
I don't think so.
If
No.
this is post.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah. But so it's interesting to see like just really how bad Terra is, because you already know even in Horus Heresy when everything is peaches, well before the fall, and everything is just honey and rainbows, that Terra still sucks. Like there's no oceans, it's all been radiated. There's no way to grow food, so that's another reason why the colonization. But just to kind of really kind of dig into it, and not only that, but to kind of see how the civilization is, the Terran civilization, so close to the throne, but yet they're so far away from how things were. I mean, they almost seem further away than how things were than the people on the other planets. If that makes any sense.
No, it does totally make sense, and I want to dive into that a lot more too.
But like a lot of it, like the education was very interesting to me. Like when Spinoza walks in and she sees the 9 sons fighting the 9 devils. And I was like, well, that's interesting. And she asked her teacher, well, why didn't the emperor create like 100 sons to fight these 9 devils? And she was beaten for that, which I'm just like, yeah, you don't ask questions, because that's the inquisitorial way. But I'm like, well, that's interesting that they've really kind of cut down history like that. I guess it's their one way to be like, oh, the emperor, he didn't do anything wrong. All right. He only had 9 sons and they were perfect, okay? And these other like 9 demons just showed up and he just did what he could, It's almost like no one talks about Horus, but from the Astartes, they know the truth. They know about the fall because they talk about Horus's fall and all that. And some other planets, they'll even talk about it. But on Terra, that's verboten. It's very interesting.
I actually think that's largely the way in most of the Imperium. I think it's very much and we'll talk a little bit more about this later, but I think it's very much or I guess we can dive into that now. Because I had one of the questions was that we know that the Imperials love their revisionist history. So what were some of the things that really stood out to you? And there's that scene very far down in the book when he's basically beneath the throne and he looks up and he's confused because he's like, well, there's the emperor, but why are there 20 dudes standing around him? And he's like, 9 of those guys are definitely Primarchs. Who are the other guys? And it's interesting to me because I always got the impression that the general populace, by and large, like any planet you go to, the general population, no. They know that there's 9 Primarchs, and maybe they know that there's 9 devils, or maybe they don't.
Well, I know that, in other planets, even on Terra, the chance, like, most of them believe that the Astartes are legend. Like, they don't even exist.
Well, and that's one of the things that we lose sight of until you read a book, when all of a sudden you have a character who's like actually, I think it was in that, what's that horror book that I lent you that was so good? The Wicked and the Damned. In one of the books, one of the stories, one of the guys is like, have you ever seen one of the Emperor's angels? I never had, and they're all inspiring. He has like 3 or 4 pages where he's just like, oh my God, this guy. Right. And you kind of forget that because you were just like, oh, them. We see them all the time. Like, that's just what we do.
It's like, unless you're like part of their home worlds.
But it shocked me that like an Inquisitor of Erasmus Krall's
caliber.
Yeah, like that he was even like, why are there 20 of these guys? And he even said, I mean, because I can't remember what the exact line is. I think I have it marked here, but he talks about how 9 of them he recognizes from like the religious texts that, okay, no, those are definitely the Primarchs. It was a little astounding to me that somebody or like there's another piece that I like too, when he's coming up to the palace and he sees this bas-relief that says, in the very center where the immense bosses swelled out were 2 great figures, the holy Primarch Jakari Khan and a nameless demonic monster wielding a scythe.
Right. So which I knew that was Mortarian.
Right, which we do. It's right. I like stuff like that because it's kind of sort of thing. Like, but I liked it. But I mean, yeah, the fact that even this great Inquisitor is just like, I think it's the fact that it says nameless.
What page
Like,
is that? No, I mean, well,
page 264.
I'm talking about the page where he looks up and sees the 20.
Oh no, I know, but that was another thing that I was like, wow, he doesn't even like. I would have expected him to at least like on that one be like, okay, that's the devil Mortarian, or like that's the devil. Like I know the name of this devil. I also actually, now granted, he was in the middle of a fight and he was kind of losing some blood. I would have liked, or I was surprised, I guess, that when he looks upon this bas relief of the emperor and his 20 sons, that he's not like, that one looks a lot like the guy with the scythe out there. Like that guy's got a scythe too. I just like to imagine that Mortarian always had his scythe on him. He just, formal dinners, doesn't matter. Anyways, I'm trying to find the page because I know that It
almost makes me wonder, like, who's better at keeping secrets?
Here you go. There were 20 great knights shown in a huge circle surrounding a magisterial icon of the emperor enthroned. Some of those knights looked like the Ministorum-sanctioned images of the Holy Primarchs. But why were there 20 of them?
What page?
Page 361.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, I was saying, like, who has more secrets? The Grand Supreme Master of the Dark Angels? Or the
Inquisition?
Or the guy at the top of the Inquisition? Because I assume there's got to be a guy.
Actually, I think that question's probably pretty easy. It's definitely the Inquisition, because if you think about it, all of the secrets that the Dark Angels have kept really just revolve around the fact that half of us went evil and we're kind of hunting us down. And like, yeah, they've killed a bunch of Inquisitors and they've bombed a bunch of planets in the name of hiding this thing, but really it's all in the service of this one secret. The friggin' Inquisition. I mean, holy shit. If you just look at the historic revisions that they've done and all of this erasing that they've done.
That Reboot's trying to undo. He's constantly looking for knowledge. He's like, they won't tell me what happened. I need to know.
Well, now, so actually that's a thing that struck me in here was that, so there's this wonderful story. It's a short story. It takes place in the Horus Heresy. I cannot remember the name of it for the life of me, and I couldn't be bothered this week to go and look for it to figure out which one it was. But it's Horus, and I want to say Magnus and somebody else. They're talking with Malcador, and they're talking specifically about their two dead brothers. And Malcador is like, we don't say the names of those guys anymore. And Horus comes unglued, and he's like, you will not dishonor my brothers' names by erasing them from memory and erasing them from existence. And Malcador basically does the Darth Vader throat choke on him because he's about to say, and he's like, I will say, and then they like, not today, son. So it was really a story that was kind of a wink wink, nudge nudge, see what we did there. But I can't imagine that Reboot upon waking up, and they don't really talk about it. I mean, they talk about it a little bit, but I can't imagine what he must feel like again, seeing this thing of Jakati Khan and Mortarian fighting. Oh yeah, it's just some demon thing that the Khan was fighting. No, that was my brother.
Or how like nobody knows the name Lorgar.
Do they need to?
Well, I mean, it makes me wonder, like, the Horus Heresy. Do they just never know of Horus? Is Horus just one of the demons? They have to know who Horus is because he killed Sanguinius. Or they just think it's just a demon.
I think they think it's just a demon. I don't think the majority of people know the Horus Heresy. I think they just think that it's like the 9 demons rose up and the Primarchs had to fight them back and Sanguinala died. I really always get the impression that it's Sanguinala died for your sins.
Sanguinius.
Sanguinala.
Sanguinala is the festival.
The holiday died for your sins. It's been a long week, guys. So, yes, exactly. Sanguinius, he died for your sins sort of thing. They really do revere him. He is Space Jesus. But there were a lot of little things in here that, again, they're just so good at keeping their secrets. So good. And then, so going back to kind of what you were talking about earlier, Chris Wraight really does, and this is the second book that we've seen this in, he paints a very grim picture of Terra. You know, did it surprise you that it's just basically another hive world?
No, it didn't. It just seems so much bleaker than other hive worlds, and that's just probably because it's so old.
It could be, and I think maybe it's a mental thing, because part of me was like, oh, this is just kind of like any other hive world, really. But this is where the Emperor lives. This is the seat of all power of the Imperium. And I just pictured it looking like the planet on Wall-E.
Right, and not only that, but yes, I mean definitely looking like Wally, but there's no sun. Everything's
that
hazed.
Depressed me the most.
You know, everything's like all hazed, and outside the Habs, it's too irradiated to even go out there, even 10,000 years later, which means like, what?
Yeah,
fucking war happened.
Wars plural. Like, you know, that's not just one, friend.
No, but what happened, you know, I guess during Long Night to have made it so bad, you know, it's just, it's
Shit
crazy.
Went down.
Obviously. But,
yeah.
But it just seems so much worse, because at least like in other hive worlds, if they are able to get out, at least there's like somewhere to go, like nature to go. There's nowhere to go in Terra.
No, and I did like that. Having headphone problems tonight. I did like that when they get in the ship and they kind of get above atmosphere, when Spinoza's like, "Oh, thank God, I can see sun again." Like, I liked that moment of where she just. Yeah. And you know what? It reminded me of a lot, and I'll make this comparison again. But do you remember? Please don't say you've never seen it. You remember the movie Seven?
I have seen Seven.
Anyways, you remember how they describe the city, which they never give a name, but just the city is constantly dark and it's constantly raining and people are unhappy there. And it really reminded me of that, obviously to an extreme. Just these people living in squalor and starving. And I'm not even sure I would call them living. They're more of existing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, for some reason, I guess in my mind, I always kind of hoped that maybe Terra was not a garden world, because obviously that didn't come to fruition, but that it was like, it was better somehow. Instead of being this clear level of like 50 assholes who live like billionaires and then the rest of everybody else.
It reminded me a lot of, you know, because Japanese, anime focuses on that a lot, about just people above. I mean, literally above, and everyone below was the slums. And if you were down in the slums, you could not get your way up. I mean, gosh, I could probably name like so many movies, like from going back as far as the 90s. I mean, even like the last iteration I saw of Yu-Gi-Oh! Was based on that. And it's like, oh my gosh, you guys need to find another trope.
Right.
So much of this, and it's in their video games. I mean, look at Final Fantasy VII for an example. That was a big one.
Yes.
In the world, in the city of Midgar, the people literally living above everybody else, and everybody else kind of got the trash of what was above. And that's kind of what this is. It's literal trickling down from the very top, and the very top are not exactly the super wealthy, it's the super
powerful. Well, I think they're kind of synonymous. I got the impression that they were kind of synonymous in this world, where if you have power, you have money. And there's a scene where they describe, I think it's Crowl, I can't remember if it was Crowl or Spinoza, but I think it's Crowl. He's walking through this garden, and he talks about how there's these cisterns watering real plants, and that he's like, oh yeah, like basically an entire hab block could live off of the water that you're putting on your plants. Which, did you notice how many times he focused on plants, real plants, grapes, real grapes, you know, gold, real gold? Like, the idea that real stuff, as opposed to scent or like gruel paste and stuff, nutrient paste that tastes maybe somewhat adjacent to fruit, right? That this was actually real, like when the scene with the grapes, that
This planet sucks,
there's
man.
no happiness in the grimdark future.
Not on Terra, anyway.
Yeah, exactly. There's none. And that just depresses me. Whenever I read books on Terra, I'm like, dude, this place sucks.
This really almost, honestly, it's whenever I read non-Astartes books. Because everywhere sucks. Like when I'm reading Ravener, that's not taking place on Terra. But it's the same thing. We're in these, habs. And these people are starving to death, and most of them turn to drugs because there's got nothing else to look forward to just to get through the day for whatever reason. And then you got the people some are super wealthy and some are powerful because it's different. Like Terra, you're right. I think they're powerful, are wealthy, but I don't even think that they are wealthy. I think it's because they are powerful. They get to indulge in wealth. It's not exactly theirs, but they get to indulge in it.
Yeah. Right.
But, in other places, they actually have wealth. And it's the same thing. It's just like, but they're living with them, but they're still above them. They don't go out and mingle with the commoners. And every time I read a non-Astartes book, I'm just like, man, the grimdark future sucks.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things I'd said to my husband was that, in the very beginning of every single Warhammer 40k book you purchase, it says that to be a man in such times is to be one amongst untold billions.
Right.
Like this book, every time we read books about people, it really drives it home. Just this idea that you are just a sand in the hourglass.
Yeah, you're not even a cog in a machine. Because at least those are useful.
Right. Like a lot of people are, but like the poor little scribe. So one of the things that I keep going back to is, what do you think the Emperor and the Primarchs, like, what must Reboot think of Terra?
Well, he didn't really see it in its best. He did see it with demons running down the street.
To be fair.
Yeah.
This isn't an everyday happening.
And I think he was shielded from a lot as well. It's not like he could really go out and see how the people were living because there was a demon problem.
Right.
And pretty much when he showed up and they kind of beat everything back, he was immediately ushered. The custodians were just like, oh my God, this is amazing. Do you want to come talk to your dad?
Yeah.
You want to see how dad's doing? And
actually, I got the feeling that the custodians were kind of like, oh God, a fucking another one. You guys are back?
Well, I don't know.
What do you want?
No,
we got rid of you already.
But they seemed very happy to see him. I mean, it was like the Lord Commander was just like, oh my God. Let's go talk to your father. This sounds great.
Yeah, somebody go talk to him. Pretty much.
Nobody else has.
Yeah.
But I don't think he spent much time on Terra ever since, because then he goes over to Ultramar, the worlds of Ultramar, and he's like, what the fuck have you guys been doing? Everything I set up is gone.
I feel like this was another voicemail on his box, by the way. Hey, Rob. Just thought you should know. Like, because I made that joke last podcast that I feel like every book we read is probably just another, like he doesn't check his voicemail anymore. The box is full. Like, remember that word bearer that you put in prison? Yeah. Just add this to the list. There's a Dark Eldar on the throne world. Anyways, give us a call.
So the Inquisition has a problem. They're trying to...
Dude, that has to be half of his voicemail.
They're trying to fix your father's throne with Dark Eldar, and it's not going well. Maybe you should check.
Could you have a brain call them? Yeah, exactly. Like, I legitimately do believe that's probably half of his voice boxes. So the Inquisition...
Or at the end of War Secrets, there's like, okay, you guys have no idea what shit's going on here.
Shit is fucked. Repeat. Exactly.
Or that one night of the absolution, he also calls like, so, someone was trying to kill me and there's a Dark Angel's mark on there and that just doesn't seem right.
I'm so confused. So, along the lines of Terra, and continuing with my 7 analogy, Spinoza and Crowell have very different outlooks.
Well, she's been in space.
There is that, but she reminded me of the Brad Pitt character, where she's very idealistic. She's now, granted, she's a lot more different because you could call her a zealot. She has been, the imperial way of thought and everything has been so ingrained into her. Like, remember when he's just like, so what if I told you that maybe Terra is not perfect? She's like, that's heresy.
Right.
So there's all these little things. She reminds me of one of my favorite throwaway quotes. I think it's in Clash of Kings. One of my favorite throwaway quotes is when they're talking about, the middle Baratheon brother. Somebody just has a quote in there and they say there's too much iron in him. He'll break before he bends. And that kind of reminded me of Spinoza.
I think they're talking about Stannis.
Stannis, thank you. But that kind of reminded me of Spinoza too, right? Now she's just a little too rigid. I'm sure Crowell's gonna help her, and she's kind of this idealist. Like there's that scene that stood out to me, and I can't remember where it is, but it's when she first meets Glock, and he's like, "How long have you been on Terra?" And she's like, "Long enough." And then she mentions something about 4 days, and he's like, "Okay, so you have no idea." And then whereas Crowell is more like that Morgan Freeman character, where he's very pragmatic and he's much more realistic. He's cynical, but it feels more pragmatic than, like, he's not just straight up, everything sucks. Mm-hmm. He just seems a little more realistic and more accustomed to how Terra runs, for good or bad.
Right, but I also see that he sees the good in Terra, and that this is how it is, and it's not totally terrible. If you just know where to look.
Terrible Terra.
Terrible Terra. Right. Looking at Sanguinala, and he would talk about looking at, I guess, kind of the sunrise, and how that looks. When she talk about how disgusting things are, and he'd be like, "Oh, but did you look at it like this?" So
right.
Which probably goes from how long he's been there as well. And you guess you got to kind of do those things not to go crazy.
You have to, right? To like find the things to enjoy and find the things to understand. Also, I love his skull.
Oh my God, me too.
Skull. Oh my God.
And I usually hate those. Those always freak me out, but this one was hysterical.
It was so sassy. And I loved how it repeated stuff. Yes. It's like, this is amazing. I especially loved when it was telling them to rescan.
Oh,
he was telling the head doctor to like rescan, and he's like, "I already did that," and he's like, "Stupid, do it again." It's like, this skull is amazing, and I want one for myself. I love the skull. So it's like, it's a boy in his skull.
Boy in his skull.
automatically was a win in my book. I liked it, but I think my favorite part about Crowell as a character is that he was still capable of awe. So like when he first meets the Custodes and he's like, "Oh, huh." And then when they bring him to see the gates, the doorway into the throne, and he's like, "Oh my God," and he's speechless. He kind of starts praying under his breath despite himself. And then, of course, at the end of the book, when he realizes that he's underneath the throne, and he looks up and he just says, "Oh my." I loved that you have this, because generally I feel like Eisenhorn is one of those characters who is generally presented as just being so cynical that he could be surprised, but not really awed. So I like the idea that Crowell could still be taken aback.
Oh, but to be fair, Eisenhorn never fought beneath the throne.
Or met a Custodes.
There is that too.
My BFF Custodes. Yeah. Actually, can I say really quickly that one of the things that really disappoints me is, why is the Custodes on this book?
I was actually thinking the same.
He's in here for like 2 chapters.
Yeah, he's like,
Why it's not Spinoza?
he's important, yes, but he's not there nearly as much as Spinoza.
Apparently, the second book she's on it, but she's kind of off in the background. She's like definitely out of focus over his shoulder.
Like a
I was
woman
actually,
should be.
I hate to say it, but part of me was like, oh, the Black Library didn't think it would sell if it was a dude and a woman buddy copping it. But a dude and a custodian, everybody's interested now.
Well, I don't know because,
Anyways.
but then again, this is a reprint. But with the reprint with the Ravener omnibus, it has on the cover, what's the guy's name? The Muscle and
Nail and Kiss.
Yeah, and Patience Keys.
Mm-hmm. No, it does.
So, but then again, that is a reprint. So,
well, and Ravener's kind of established, right? Like everybody knows about Ravener. This is a new series, but
you can't have Ravener on the cover.
It's true.
It's just a box.
It's just a refrigerator. Just like an old school Frigidaire. On the other hand, I really liked Spinoza though. I liked that. I really did like how irritated she was getting when everyone was like, you don't understand Terra. And she's like, I know. Like, I really liked that. And I liked in the end, it was such a nice, lump of sugar is not the right word for it, because she wasn't like a bad character. But I do like in the very end when she kind of starts quoting him back to him.
Yeah.
And she's like, don't listen to the voices you can hear. I like that she warmed up to him and she's like, I'm basically staying with you.
I like when she finally did speak candidly to him and he's like, yeah, I recant that now.
Yes. And I did like early on when he would say something to her and she would be like, yes. And he's like, no, speak your mind. No. Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, you're in the Ordo Hereticus. You don't know what's a test and what's not.
That's true, too.
I mean, Russillo gives her a file on him. And she's like, but you didn't get this. And Susie Meets is like, I'm sure Russillo gave you a file on me. I don't know what you're talking about. Exactly. Okay, so, it's just... Like,
I actually
y'all's games,
love
I swear.
Well, let's be honest. The Inquisition is a hot mess.
Well, yes. I'm just happy there's finally a member of the Ordo Hereticus I like. I haven't met one yet.
I got to the end of it and I was like, a really good Inquisitor that I like. Like, I am imploring Chris Wraight, please don't have him become like heretical, like where he's like, I'm making deals with demons and stuff for the greater good, you understand. I got to the end of the book and I was like, oh, he is just a good dude. And I mean, he takes chances. He lets that minor guy go early on in the beginning. He lets him go because he knows it'll lead him to the bigger prey, right? Like Spinoza would have killed him right then and there.
Right.
You also have to ask at the very end of the book. I kind of freaked out when I got to the end of the book because when he has Lermontov,
mm-hmm.
in the when he has him in the interrogation chamber, I was like, oh no, this is so bad. I do like his line though. Say nothing, listen with utmost care.
Well, I mean, the thing, like, Lermontov, he even told her earlier, he was like, oh, how many people have y'all gotten and tortured? And with y'all's tools, the truth-telling tools, like, they'll say anything.
Right. So along those lines, how did you feel about the Angel's Tears / False Angel?
I was kind of a Spinoza on that, in that I understand what they were rebelling against, just not such a great way to do it.
Right.
I mean, I was kind of glad to know that they weren't the one, that it wasn't your typical, cult down there doing blood rites. It was people that were like, we're getting slaughtered by these monsters that we don't know what they are and no one's helping us. So we're taking this into our own hands.
Mm-hmm. So oddly enough, in the very beginning when they were talking to him and they mentioned that some of the guys looked like Ogrins, I was like, they can't be heretics then, because you're not going to get an Ogren to go heretical. And then later on, when they talk about how many of the Ogrens are there, I was like, I knew it. Those guys are loyal.
I don't even know what they are. So I assume they're like ogre-like.
Yeah, kind of. They're mutant people who are bred for heavy, heavy physical labor.
That's kind of what it sounded like.
Yeah, they show up most often either for super physical labor or like just hardcore brute fighting. But
now we know how the pyramids were built.
Spread it on Reddit, won't you?
Right.
So pretty much. Loyalty is like one of the things about them. They are dogged loyalists, at least all of the books and stuff that I've read about them. So as soon as I saw them, I was like, no, you have this wrong, sir. So I liked that at the end. But yeah, it was kind of sad ultimately, because you get to the end and you're like, oh, you understand their motivations. But even Spinoza's like, okay, that's heresy. No, you don't understand. They're killing us. They're murdering us like by the hundreds. Still heresy. Like the way that she's just like, I'm sorry, are you rebelling against the order of law? Are you taking this into your own hands? Heresy. There's no, again, that just a little too much iron.
Right.
I don't know that she's ever going to get rid of that. But
no, obviously, but Crowell's not entirely either, because he still took in Lermontov.
Oh yeah. Well, so what's his motivation there?
Right.
What do you think he wants to learn from him?
I don't know what he could.
I have a couple theories.
Okay.
One, I think for one thing, Lermontov has much better firsthand knowledge of the creatures that they were creating to hunt and kill them, right? That the Dark Eldar was creating. I'm wondering though if he's going to use that to try to figure out what the other High Lords are, or like try to find some avenue of dissent, right? Because remember, he talks about how immediately they start painting him as being a cult leader.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if that was part of the footstep covering, if that makes sense.
Oh, could be, but I don't know what he would know.
I don't either, but Crowell clearly thinks something. I actually really liked him as a character too, by the way. Lermontov.
Oh, Lermontov, yeah. I did as well. But at the same time, though, I do find Crowell to be a fair person.
I would say so. That's accurate, yeah.
So I don't think he'll, needlessly torture Lermontov or anything like that. He might even let him go. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. He might, for sure. Yeah, that was another thing I found a little surprising about him, is that, yes, again, it comes down to that he is definitely the cooler head. They talk about him being older and having all this knowledge and experience, and he does seem to use it.
Mm-hmm.
It makes him a more measured and rational character. He hasn't yet gone the extremist, you're all guilty way.
Right. Well, between him and Spinoza, because like you were saying that, he let the guy go to see where he went in this, whereas Spinoza would have killed him. To me, it kind of reminds me of, when I used to work in law, working with a partner and their first year law student associate, just out of law school associate, because you have this partner who knows what to look for, and whereas the associate is just find every little line. And when I would have to summarize their depositions, an associate's deposition would be this fat, because they would ask them every little thing under the sun, and then a partner's deposition would be like this, because they know what they're looking for, they know what they want, they don't need to get any access. And the associates are so afraid of missing something that they don't know exactly how to ask for it and look there. And that's kind of really what I saw in this. He's like, yes, I'm experienced, I know how this works, where she's just like, God damn it, that's heresy, and we're gonna end it. It's like, no, let's just kind of see how this plays out. You know, kind of remind me. Also, you know, I remember watching, I think it might have been like one of the cops TV shows, one of those reality shows, and it was in Vegas, and there were all these people, you know, that had drugs in Vegas, but they didn't want them. They kind of let them go because they wanted the big supplier. They wanted the big fish. So it's the same thing versus, you know, maybe that new cop would be in there, be like, I'm gonna arrest them all. Like, no, like let's kind of get to the big pond in the end.
Right. And I liked that. And actually, now that you're saying that was another point that I had wanted to make about Spinoza and Chris Wraight. Spinoza and Crowell is that it's interesting to me that they kind of did that role reversal where Crowell is that more merciful, a little more trusting, a little more recognizing that this is the smaller fish sort of thing. A lot of times you would see that in the rookie who would be like, oh, you know, let's just be a little more lenient with this guy. Whereas it's a guy who's been around the block a little bit more, who's like, nope, heresy, trust me on this one. I liked the idea too, that you had that little bit of a role reversal there. I kind of wish I had waited till we read this to write my Badass Women of Warhammer article, because Spinoza belongs in there.
Well, but you already did have a Chris Wraight nominee in there.
That's true. But not a human who's adepting wielding a friggin' Crozius.
Actually, I loved her comment when she's talking to Hagain, which I loved him. In fact, he's just making jokes.
Oh my God.
And trying to, you know, kind of get through things. And he was like, you know, so what was it like fighting alongside the Astartes? And she just looked at him, she's like, they suffer. They suffer your presence to be there. And he starts laughing. He's like, is that really how it is? No, just like, yeah, you know, that sounds right.
Oh, it does. And I really want there to be something between Hagain and Spinoza, because he was so wonderful, and they were definitely those opposite sides. I loved how funny he was. I love how lax he was, and like no matter what happened, he's just like, okay. Like, I love that he was managed to have this sense of humor still.
Yeah, she brings this assassin on board, and he's like, well, wait a second.
He's like, wait a minute, I don't want her on here. We're bringing her. Okay. Like, I guess you're the boss. I also really, I was about to say, really liked her. Revis.
Yeah. Oh, I don't like Revis, but I liked her too, the assassin Kazad. Yeah.
Well, I feel like they got the band together in this book. Because now he has Revis, who is a badass unto himself. Hagain, who's very competent. He has Spinoza now, so he has an interrogator, and he just picked up a shiny new assassin. So, well,
and the Custodes.
What? Yes. So like they're like the Avengers. The Custodes is clearly the Hulk. The description of the Custodes fighting was amazing.
Yeah.
I loved it. Actually, that was funny when he's like talking to the Dark Eldar and he's like, tell me who it is. And the Custodes just like, nope.
Spears him.
It's dead.
Like, you could have at least waited to give me an answer.
Right, nope. Like we need to know who it is. You'll figure it out. Oh, I hadn't thought of it that way before. Like, but yes, this book, it's like assembling the Avengers, and I was so excited because I was like, oh, he has a kill team now.
He does, yeah.
Yeah. So, on that note, sort of, this is kind of branching into the Inquisition's kind of a thorny mess. They don't know who to trust. They don't
trust each other.
Oh my God, you have extremists, you have crazy people, you have evil people. Can it survive in this current state? And what made me think of that is, you remember throughout the book, they keep saying he wasn't always alone.
Mm-hmm.
And then you learn that her former mentor killed, which it felt a little shoehorn slapped in on the end, if I'm being totally honest. But you learn that he killed his Krau's partner.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a way to live. Like, I don't even know. Can the institution and the Inquisition survive in its current state?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's going to anyway.
Well, so that's what I mean. Like that's another thing. Not only do you have backstabbing, conniving, straight up evil, straight up zealots, crazy people who don't share secrets. Oh, and you have a Primarch who pretty much hates you guys.
I did love it when Crowl told the Custodes, he's like, "There's no point in you keeping secrets from me now." He's like, "That's rich."
I loved that. I laughed out loud. That was hilarious to me. He's like, "That's ironic coming from you."
So you get the Inquisition and the Dark Angels in a room together. Who's gonna share a secret first?
It would just be a lot of glowering.
Yeah,
just a lot of silence. Like not even witty banter.
No.
Like when you get Inquisitors in the room, like again with that early scene. Did you already read the file that she gave you on me? I didn't get a file. Good answer. Like it was this witty banter back and forth, right? It was very sharp, and I loved that when he was throwing stuff at her, and she's like, "Is this a test? Is this a test?" The whole time. I don't think anyone would talk. It would just be the Dark Angels and an Inquisitor sitting there, like stony silence.
Oh, I don't know. I think the Inquisitor would be harping on them about their secret. The Dark Angel's just sitting there.
With a kill team hiding in the midst. Like, ready to take out the Inquisitor if he says something wrong. Pretty much.
Oh, look, the eyeballs in that painting just moved.
The skull would have detected it. I love the skull. But can the Inquisition survive this?
With or without reboot? With well, I mean, because I think he's going to, destroy it anyway. But like, if he wasn't even around, the Inquisition, since it's like this on Terra, so we have this where it's like this on Terra, and then we have, it was the Saint Celestine book, where the Ordo Hereticus was there. Basically going overboard to maybe find a zealot, or not a zealot, but a traitor. Maybe find someone who's a little insubordinate.
Because he was convinced that the saint was a demon. Right.
So so you have that. You have this. I don't know about the whole Inquisition, but the Ordo Hereticus is not going to survive.
No. I don't think so. The Order of Malleus.
They still work with the Grey Knights, and they kind of do their own thing. So I think they'll survive just because of that. The problem gets to be when the Malleus and Xenos run afoul of each other.
I really liked that. Well, and the Xenos have the Mother Fletcher, the Death Watch. Right. Yes. So they have Space Marine allies as well.
And we've seen
Ordo Hereticus has the Sororitas.
And we've seen Xenos also be traitors. And I
actually really liked that the Xenos guy in here was a good dude. He was trying to figure out it. Yeah, he knew about the Eldar. Mm-hmm. And I liked the idea that the Custodes knew him too. Like, we were presented actually with two good Inquisitors. That has to be a record.
That is true.
Like, there was two good Inquisitors in one room together, and they were of different ordos. Like, I just imagine him pitching this to the Black Library, and they're like, which one of them's evil? No, they're both good. No, but one of them has to be evil. Oh, the woman's evil. Okay, cool. You can print the book then.
Well, I think the reason why I'd let him print the book is because one of the Ordo guys was dead. So.
Pretty much.
You can't have them both alive and be good. That's just not going to happen.
That's not going to work. Yeah. That one was good. That's why he's dead. Pretty much.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that is why he's dead.
Pretty much.
And Crowl almost died the same way.
Yeah. But it's a thing that I keep, especially this year as we read books and as we see these Inquisitors, like Spear of the Emperor. And then Celestine is another good example. And then this book here, and you kind of saw them a little bit in Watchers of the Throne too. It's not a pretty picture being painted by these guys. So I think to me, that's become one of my burning questions of the state of Warhammer in general. And I've made the joke a lot that I would love for this to become a giant like Robbie G in the military branch versus the Inquisition. I would support it. But it's one of the burning questions that I have for the state of the universe. The Inquisition is going to like just turn into the Dark Angels and they're going to spend all of their time cleaning up their own shit. I don't know.
Actually, I don't know if they can.
Actually, I listened to one of the audio horror books tonight that stars an awful Inquisitor.
Well, because I was kind of thinking earlier today, because, the Ordo Xenos, it makes sense. Like that, I totally understand what they do. Same with Ordo Malleus. And then you get the Hereticus, and they just seem very muddy and gray with what they do. But they also kind of remind me of their own internal affairs department. If their internal affairs department was also corrupted.
Pretty much.
It's the Hereticus, I think, is probably one of the most discombobulated of all three Ordos. And it's almost kind of confusing because it's almost like, well, what exactly are you guys doing?
Because like, what was it you'd say you do here?
Right? I mean, one hand, it's like, oh, well, they're witch hunters. Okay. I understand that. But then why do they go after this? Or they're the ones that are tasked to going after their own inquisitors when they think, that their inquisitors are going bad. But unfortunately, they have this nasty habit of shoot first, ask questions later.
Right.
Forcing people to go even more rogue. And they're like, see, heresy.
Hey, you shoot till there's one side of the story.
I can't argue with that logic.
So let's talk about then, because this leads right into this nicely. Let's talk about the project.
I don't know.
The throne is failing. They can't figure out how to fix it. So let's get an Eldar to fix it. But
you bring apparently Dark Eldar?
So the thing that I can't figure out and I'm going to say this kind of facetiously, but I think it's legitimately true. Well, they all look the same, right? Like Dark Eldar, Good Eldar, they're all the same. It's all the same race. Doesn't matter. So the fact that, and of course, for us, having world knowledge, not character knowledge, how could you mistake a Dark Eldar for a Light Eldar?
Well, I mean, if they had brought in the Ordo Xenos, they would have known.
Yeah, the Ordo Xenos would have been like, not those ones. Well, that's the thing. Okay, so you guys, you couldn't even do this right. You're trying to do something that's border heresy, making a deal with the Xenos, and you couldn't even do that right. Like, trust me, there's an Ordos.
You brought murder monsters to Terra.
Dude, I promise you could have found a friendly Ordo Xenos Inquisitor. If you were like, okay, so here's our plan. I guarantee you find a guy.
All you had to do was find a known Xanthite. That's all they had to do.
Yeah.
And bring them in. Because they've been like, oh yeah, totally.
Right. Like, I feel as though if you would have just talked to the Ordo Xenos, eventually you would have found a guy, and I use that term gender neutral. You'd have found someone who would have been like, oh, yeah, sure, no problem. Let's do it. I think that's a great idea. Like, you're committing heresy, and you fucked that up. That was the part that I was like, it really is the government. They can't do anything right. Like, what the hell? Oh my God. But so, okay. This is your plan, because they obviously can't fix it. So, and again, that kind of makes me think it has to be pre-Robbie G, because Vrain is known to all the High Lords of Terra that she helped.
And there's that other Eldar that was part of it too. The guy who made the Armor of Fate. The guy. Well, yes, the guy who talked to Alfarius.
I can't think of his name.
No, I can't either, but
it's not Gul'dan, but it's something like that.
No, it is something like that. I just remember when he talked to Alfarius, and I was reading that, and then I read Armor of Fate, and I'm like, oh my God, like 10,000.
All coming together.
Yeah, it's like, 10,000 years. I mean, my God, how long did the Eldar live? Apparently forever.
Well, and also if you're in the warp or in the webway, like, time passes differently. Yes. So that guy, I feel like the Rolodex of people you could have called would have been pretty high. Also Trazyn, also Belisarius Cawl. Like, yeah, the fact that this was the work of a few desperate people, and I understand it. I totally understand it. The throne is dying. The tech priests can't figure it out. That was one of my favorite scenes, actually, in Watchers of the Throne, when all the tech priests and stuff were around the throne. And I can't remember if it was Valerian or the High Lord guy, but one of them was like, you know what? I don't think they know what they're doing. I think this is all bullshit.
I think it was the High Lord guy.
I think it was. I think he's like, yeah, I think this is all bullshit. I think it's all smoke and mirrors, which you're right.
Why haven't they called Belisarius Cawl?
Reasons? Because he's crazy?
Well, yes, but if there's anyone, I don't know, who's been around for 10,000 years, who has all of these, memories sucked into him, including the guy who helped create the Black Carapace, maybe he might know how to fix this thing.
Right.
I mean, he seems to like Necron tech, so I don't know why he couldn't go and fix it.
Well, and that was my other question, too, is I was like, okay, so you don't want to call the Necrons because that's bad.
Right. But the Dark Eldar.
Good? Well, and the Dark Eldar, like, oh my God. It just... Oh my God. As soon as they reveal it's a Dark Eldar, I said aloud, you idiots. Oh my gosh. It was when they were revealing the construct things that they were making, because they talk about them having the wasp wasps, hence the hand gesture. I talk with my hands too much. As soon as they revealed that, I was like, you idiots. You idiots. But so here's the thing though. What lingering questions are there? Mine, I think my biggest one is the guy kind of intimated that he wasn't alone.
Which guy?
The Dark Eldar. Kind of intimates that he's not alone. And if the Inquisition approached this one guy, remember they talk about how they're like, no, we made agreements and accords were struck and we have guarantees. Do you? Like, what all does that entail? Basically, are we going to see more of these guys?
Maybe that's what Hollow Mountain deals with.
Could be.
Again, something else to put on Robbie G's voicemail. So we know you just woke up and everything, and you were just here, but...
Could you maybe spare a minute?
Okay, we kind of might have a Dark Eldar problem that maybe the High Lords brought here, but we're not sure who yet.
Oh, I can't wait for him to get names. Mm-hmm. And then just call him. Like, yeah, so Reginald and Frank, we got to do something with them.
Reginald and Frank. I hope that's their names. That'd be great.
Me too. So, but like, it's better than like Bryce and Skylar. They're 90s coming of age movie villains. Pop colors, spike tips. Anyways, like I hope they end that book with him calling Robbie G, being like, fun story. Again, though, does that go to the end of the voicemail? Because you also have the literal voicemail of the Calidus assassin. Anyways, so many things.
There's that, and
but
and the word bearer, and
I am so excited to read the next book though, because I got to the end of the book and it's like, I need to know what happens next. So I know we're not reading it for a few, and that's totally fine. I will live. But that's how much I enjoyed the book, is that when I got to the end of it, it's like, I want to read the next one now, because it was so good. I enjoyed it, at least. I like a good mystery.
Well, I like, and honestly, the reason why I'm saying I don't know, because there was parts where I was like, oh my gosh, I got to stay up, but I got so tired and I would just fall asleep. And I think because of how I've had to read this book this week, that has affected how I feel. It's kind of like when you're assigned a book to read in school, and you like it, but then like you think about it years later and you're like, you know, that really was a good book. But when you're forced to read it, you're just like, oh my God, what is this? And because I was basically trying to find like 5 minutes to sit and read where I didn't have someone needing something from me, I'm good. So like in full disclosure, I did finish this book like about 2-3 hours before we started recording. That's like how insane everything has been. So like when you actually talked about how they were below the throne, like I don't even know if I even caught that because I'm trying to read and doing, yeah. So I don't think I was able to give this book a fair shake, but at the same time I enjoyed the mystery behind it.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I'm looking forward to reading the next one, and hopefully I'll be able to give that one much more credence than I was able to with this one.
Yeah, I really liked this one. Like I was actually, so we were at a hockey tournament last weekend because that's how I spend all my weekends, and I had it with me and I was like reading it out in the parking lot. My kids warming up, they're like doing dry land next to me, and I'm like, yeah, enjoy. So I'm reading my book. I really, really liked it. So going back to one of our first questions, the parts that really stood out to you, I need to mention something specifically because I had a delightful little Twitter conversation or interaction, I should say.
Okay.
With Chris Wraight. At one point, and this part made me squeal loud with joy. And the funny thing was, because my husband read this book probably 6 or 7 months ago. And when I was like, oh my God, he knew exactly where I was. When they go to the scribe's house and the ship name, the ship name is hidden in a romance novel called My Wish to Generate Children with You is Only Exceeded by My Devotion to Him. Chris Wraight said that he would totally write this book if enough people petitioned the Black Library, and by God, people, we need to get on that.
You know, because we'd already talked about that, and I was just kind of laughing about it. I was like, okay, what is this about? And then I get to that part, and I burst out laughing. I'm like, okay, that is quite a title for a romance novel.
That is the most, so like, I make jokes about Warhammer 40k romance novels. That is the most in-world thing to ever happen.
It's like so close to like a Terran Harlequin novel.
I think it is.
Yeah.
And I love it. So I don't know if you guys played Dragon Age series. So as we're both wearing Dragon Age hoodies tonight.
No, I'm not.
I am proudly. One of us has to go change. So there was this running gag about Varric Tethris writing this book series called Hard and Hightown. They actually, Dark Horse actually published the book. I mean, it's like this thick. It's teensy tiny. But it is this badly written mystery novel. It's supposed to be like a hard-boiled noir style thriller. It is so bad. It is so good.
It's supposed to be bad though, right? I mean,
yeah, that's why it's so good. Because it is supposed to be terrible. To quote Cassandra from the end of Inquisition, I'd read the shit out of this if you wrote that. I would. Yes,
you know what? I would too. I really would too.
I would buy the special edition.
And I would really hope it's as Harlequin-y as possible. Just really bad.
Please, where he's the ex-special military Imperial Guard, like he's a Krieg guy who survived and he's seen everything and he has a dark secret, and she is the scribe, the bright-eyed scribe who's going to change the Terra and make it better.
Why don't you write it?
I would so happily write Harlequin-esque 40k novels. Like, you don't even understand. So happily do it because they're all the same novel. Like,
sometimes on the covers are in different poses.
Okay, again, as the person who has a very extensive collection that I would never show on camera, mine are all Western. Don't worry, none of the period pieces. Anyways, but that part really. That made me laugh so hard. That was just such a nice little piece of color. I loved the idea of this lonely scribe. Not only did he have this book, but it's like the key to this whole mystery because they find the ship. Also, the interaction on that ship when Crowl is on there talking with the guy And Crowell's just, oh yeah, why don't you just show me your logs? You just do all this stuff. And he's acting really calm and cool. And Spinoza goes in on that like suicide run. I loved the description of the ship where they're like, this ship should just not exist. This ship is madness. I loved that. I thought that was great with the ship exploding. Beautiful. Loved it. There were just so many little pieces of this book where it felt very cinematic.
Oh, yeah.
And
Absolutely.
you had no problem envisioning it.
No.
So I really enjoyed it. And I think this was a really good way for us to end out the year.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we've read, like, it's not one of my favorite books, but it's a really good book at the same time.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, we've actually been pretty fortunate this year in the books.
We really have.
In the books that we have read. And I guess I'm going to have to say it's like the quality, the authors that, you know, just been churning out. Like we talked about how earlier this week, we talked about how like apparently the only people that we read are the Fab Four, you know, ADB, Guy Haley, Chris Wraight, and Josh Reynolds. And then we said, oh, the fifth Beatle, Dan Abnett. But I think that's not the fifth Beatle. I think the fifth Beatle is Andy Clark.
Yes. Sorry, Andy. We didn't mean to compare you to Ringo.
Okay, first of all, I am a Ringo defender.
My dad is too. Actually, my dad will defend Ringo till he's blue in the face. So, and also speak very ill of Yoko Ono. He's still not gotten over that. It's been like 50 years.
Yeah, my dad's not over her either.
Yeah, no, my dad. Anyways, that's a bad topic. But I think you're right. I think it is Andy Clark because I look at all the books that we've read this year and some of the ones that we're already looking at next year. Because I think he has an Ultramarines book coming out. I think it's the next, and that's the horribly titled series, the Space Marines Conquest.
Yeah,
I'm still just going to start calling it Space Marines Revelations. But yeah, he really is kind of that feels like all the books we're reading, because the next book that we're reading for the book club officially is Lords of Silence. But until then, given the holidays and everything else that's going on, we are actually going to take a break from our regularly scheduled joint reading. And we are going to finally take some time to read those books that we've bought, and we've thought to ourselves, oh, wouldn't it be awesome to read these? And then we just never quite find the time. So mine are going to be the Josh Reynolds show starring Josh Reynolds. I am reading Dark Harvest and Ooh, wow.
That's shiny.
Wow. I got the special edition, as you can tell. I actually really like it because it's like the see-through plastic cover on the dust jacket, which is kind of, it's up my alley. So I'm reading Count Jericho. Again, my husband already read it, and he came to me afterwards and he was like, you need to read this book. You're going to love it. And then, of course, I'm not a big Warhammer fantasy person, but you had me at horror novel. So I'm excited.
Josh Reynolds in horror. Sign her up.
Pretty much. Also, dim green pages. Look,
it doesn't take much to make you happy, I swear.
You guys, I am so easily amused and so easily pleased. The fact that all of the horror novels, I thought I had a couple of them here, but I don't think I do now.
No, I have your copy of The Wicked and the Damned, which I think is black.
Yes, and then I just got a red one. I got with the new short story collection because it had David Annandale's name on the cover. So I was like, I'll take that one too. Yes, it doesn't take a lot. And I love the colored pages. And, oh, by the way, Cal Jericho's are purple. I have deep-seated problems.
So really, all I need to do is to buy you a book and then paint the edges and be like, here, look at this. It's special. It's got paint on the edges, and you won't even care what book it is. Be like, oh.
That's right. I'll be like, oh, shiny.
Look at the color.
I would have liked the Devastation of Baal a lot more, by at least 30% more if the pages had been read.
It would have made sense to make them red, but maybe the
legit would.
The special edition. I bet the special edition, if they made one, I'm pretty sure they did, had a nice red leather-bound cover with gold around it.
Leather-bound or velvet-bound?
They're not all Eurotrash.
Oh, but they are.
Well, speaking of Eurotrash,
Oh, God.
so
Oh.
you look at Mephiston on the cover. I mean, that is some pretty darn Eurotrash vampire right there.
If somebody from Games Workshop or Black Library or just any hardcore fan is listening and can explain to me why they put nipples on his armor.
Oh, God damn it, woman. I didn't notice that till now. Why?
Thank you.
But they're not.
I would have thought that we learned from the bat suit.
Okay, but they're not.
Really not.
But they're not in the right place for nipples.
They are on the model. They are on the figure. On the figure, it looks like it's very cold outside.
No. Well, on the book cover, they're like way down in the corner.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's okay then.
Unless he had a really bad boob job and they're just going that way. I don't know, but
they port east-west now. Anyways, so you're reading Mephiston.
Yes, I'm reading
Eurotrash in.
Yes, I'm reading the first Mephiston book. It's by an author we haven't touched yet. I've actually read nothing by him, Darius Hinks. But he's a lovely guy on Twitter.
So I thought we did read something by him. Okay.
I'm pretty sure we haven't.
No, I think you're absolutely correct. But where? I would have sworn that I just did. Did he write one of the short stories?
Maybe you've read something.
That could be.
Yeah, but no, I haven't. This is my very first book by Mr. Hinks.
Nice.
And so yeah, I mean, I kind of, thanks to the Blood Angels omnibus, I really started liking Mephiston then, and that was mainly because I loved his reaction when he saw the supposed Sanguinius Reborn. It was like he saw him, and I could imagine him just like finger over his mouth, like, I'm really trying not to laugh right now.
Right.
At what a joke this is. And he was actually not so, in those books, he was not so broody as he was in A Devastation of Baal. Actually, I don't know what he was doing in Devastation of Baal. Like, he got in a coffin and then threw a fit in the coffin. I'm not exactly sure. I just imagine.
That scene broke me.
I was like, oh my gosh, it'd be like, I was imagining. So a long time ago when I was in college, there was always this big party on campus, and it was never on campus. I went to Baylor. Let's be clear about that. And so I was helping work this bar one night, and I saw this porta potty in a vision, and it is going like swaying like back and forth, like we think it's about to turn over. And so we're giggling, like, there's like a couple people in there. That's pretty gross, but we could see it happening. One of our friends stumbled out so drunk and picked up his drink, and he was like, my drink is broken. And then he ran off to go tell somebody it's broken. So we don't know what he was doing in there. I think he'd be swaying the way it was, but that's what I imagine the coffin was doing when he was in it.
Yeah,
thrashing around.
Pretty much.
So
yeah.
I'm just kind of curious. I think this book is about, how he's trying to understand how he's able to get past the flaw, and can he bring that to other people? Who knows? I don't know.
Through the power of designer brands.
I mean,
because he's a Eurotrash vampire.
I tell you what, like, they had to have gotten his face, like on this cover, from some Castlevania or no, Vampire Hunter D, the second one, Bloodlust, that vampire, because that's what he looks like.
Oh, he doesn't look as beautiful as D.
No, not D.
Oh, Meyer.
Yeah, the totally white.
Oh, he does look like Meyer, actually.
Yeah.
I cannot think. That's like one of my favorite movies of all time. It's Meyer Link. Yeah, it's Meyer Link. He looks like Meyer Link.
Yeah. So, but then my other book is a book I bought a while ago, but then I got I got derailed by Andy Clark's wonderful book. So this is like another Alpha Legion book. I picked it up after finishing reading Legion because I gotta know more about these guys. And whereas the one that we read, Shroud of Night, was they're kind of like, it was an independent war band. Right. Basically like, we are here to survive and maybe go find the rest of our brothers, but we just have to like survive this first. This actually starts, the very first page is an order from Alfarius himself where it's
Ooh.
been redacted. So I'm guessing the Inquisition got a hold of it, where he
Right.
is basically saying that everything we do is for the Emperor. And so it starts off with that, and it's actually about one of these war bands where he's like he's out to try to redeem his entire legion to prove that they have been loyal since the beginning. Obviously, that didn't happen because this book's like a few years old.
Well,
but it'll be fun to read. It'll be fun to read, the Alpha Legion now.
Right.
The loyalist, like these are actually loyalist Alpha Legion. Although shit, they all could be loyalists. They could maybe just some of them are traitors, like the ones that killed everybody on Frater Matthew's town. We don't know.
And then implanted him next to the Primarch.
Yeah, like that wasn't. There's no way that was coincidental, right?
You don't casually mention the Alpha Legion. Unless he's gonna do like some subverting expectations things, and he's like, "Oh yes, that had nothing to do with anything." I still wouldn't believe it. Like Guy Haley himself could appear and be like, "No, that's not a big deal." And I'd be like, "Is it not though?"
Yeah, we don't trust anyone from the Alpha Legion.
No. Clearly, he's working for Alpharius or Omegan.
I don't know who Guy Haley works for, because he's kind of all over the place. But anyway,
a lot of people.
So that is my Christmas reading. It's going to be Eurotrash Vampire and Loyalist Alpha Legion.
Nice!
With demons on their backs. But let's not look at that.
They're going to show up and be like, no, the demons are super helpful sometimes.
Kind of like the Tutelaries that the Thousand Sons had.
Oh, man.
Why are these things not listening to us anymore?
Well, funny story.
Yeah.
Not so funny story. You want to take us out, Carrie?
Yes, I will, but I will start by saying that we do have an announcement, and that just after the holidays, we will be doing a very special award show.
Yes, next Sunday.
Yes. Yep, next Sunday. So it'll be a very special little award show to kind of go over the books that we have read this year. And then when we come back, we'll do what we've been reading over Christmas vacation before we start The Lords of Silence by Chris Wraight. We're just gonna end the year
Carrie's favorite legion.
We'll end the year with Chris Wraight, and then we'll start the year with Chris Wraight. So that'll be fun.
I was gonna make some sort of
Christmas
joke.
No, nice. I like it.
Yeah, you're all welcome.
And I just now got my favorite legion. I was like, what are you talking about? Oh, right.
The boobos.
The boobos bother you, not me.
God, they do. It's such a gross word. It's worse than moist.
It's the sacks of awful. But that's Andy Clark. It was that.
That's true.
And the whale bombs, I guess.
Oh, I loved the whales. I thought the whales were great.
That was so nasty. I could almost hear it as it landed. Just so gross.
Oh, I thought it was so great.
Anyway. But thank you all if you've listened to the Warhammer 40k book club episode regarding Vaults of Terra, the Carrion Throne by Chris Wraight. Please, if you listen to this, please let us know if it's Chris Wraight or Chris Wright.
Please, because I feel so bad. I look at the last name and I'm like, oh no. It should be really easy, but anyways.
Please help our ignorant American ways. Be sure to join us for our next book where we talk about what we read over our holiday break. And we are an official book club, not affiliated with the Black Library or any of its affiliates. You can find both the vidcast and the podcast on our website, WH40kbookclub.com. If you like this episode, please like, subscribe, give a review, and all those things to the vidcast on YouTube or the podcast on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or Spotify. Our site also has articles about our adventures in reading other Warhammer 40k books and short stories outside of the book club books, so please stay a while and read from a crag. All right, I'm going to say Merry Sanguinala to everybody.
Happy Sanguinala. He died for your sins.
So that you don't have to. No, that just sounded stupid. All right, good night.